Welcome back to the Purpose Pod. This is another episode of the Purpose Pod, driving you forward with power and faith. I'm excited to be back here today on the Purpose Pod. We've been having some awesome interviews. And today I'm so excited to have this interview with my brother, Kevin Hicks, because he is doing something that I desire to do. And I just struggle with doing it so much because my brain doesn't work the way his does. So I'm going to figure out how his brain works and how he can become this developer, web developer, and app developer. And so we can see how he's able to do these software developments. I want to get in there because I don't know how to do it and I struggle. So let's bring on Kevin Hicks.
Hey,
what up, Kevin?
What's going on?
How you doing, brother?
Doing all right?
Yes, sir, man. I'm living, bro. Can't complain. 2020 COVID-19. So, I'm just living the American dream right now. How's that been going for you? Like with COVID-19, I know with work, did that change anything with your work?
So I work in technology. So just like all the other major technology firms, they allow us to work from home.
Yeah.
I mean, we basically do the same thing, sit in front of our laptop and communicate to each other. So not much change, just location.
Yeah, just changed location. Didn't really miss out on anything. Do you ever miss that like office vibe, or are you like an introvert? I know you're a very quiet guy, but you're not. I wouldn't call you an introvert, but you could be introvertish.
Something like that.
Introvertish.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of half and half, right?
Yeah.
Some days, you want to. I mean, like most people, like some days you want to work from home, chill.
Mm-hmm.
And then other days, like you need to be face to face. You need to talk to people. You need to get stuff done. So, I mean, lately it's been pretty chill. I mean, I just been writing my code, but once things get rolling and get busy again, then it's better to have in-person meetings.
Yeah. Cool beans, man. So I know a lot of people that we know mutually know you, but a lot of the people that follow me on Instagram or outside of our church, they may not know you. So can you go ahead and just introduce yourself, where you're from, and what it is that you actually do?
Yeah, so my name is Kevin Hicks, originally from Miami, Florida. As a high school student, I ran track and field. So I was a high school state champion, went on to college to become a collegiate national champion. Graduated with the undergraduate degree in computer science, currently working on my MBA. Just working as a software developer now.
Yeah. So you're living the life of a champion. Like every time I hear you talking about like champion, I just like hear the Rock, like the champ is here or something like that. Like, can you smell what the Rock is cooking? Did that ever like get in your head, like running track and being smart? I mean, software development, like it's not an easy thing to learn. So were you like, oh yeah, I'm this champion guy here, and then I'm also developing? Did that ever get to you?
No, I mean, first of all, most people don't even know. Like if you're at the track, most people just say, oh, that kid runs fast or whatever the case may be. Just like we do football players, like, this guy plays football, like he's an awesome football player. But they don't really know about the academics side of it. I mean, we've all heard the stories, they kind of put you into a box and then they find out later, like, oh, this kid does have a little bit of brain.
Right.
Study a little bit,
Yeah. That's true though. So man, I'm glad you said, I don't want to jump in there already, but because like you just said something there, and as an African-American male, like running track and then, being in IT or with computers and programming and software development, how has that been for you? I want to, all right, we could just kind of jump into it right here. How has that been for you? Has it been difficult, or did you get any backlash because you're African-American and you're in this different field that you don't see a lot of people in? Or is it not like that? Are there a lot of African-American males who are doing software development?
Well, I wouldn't say that there are not. Like they're there. Like we don't have lots of African-Americans in large numbers. Mm-hmm. So typically when you go and work for whatever your company is, they typically don't look like me. I'll just say it like that.
Okay.
But you can't, if you work in the industry long enough, you'll start to meet people, mentors. It goes all the way up the range, 50, 60 guys do work in the industry, but we don't see very many.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured, I know like at school and stuff, it's not that diverse, at school either. So, going through college as a minority engineer student isn't really that's, I don't know. If you're not tied into like Nesby, you don't know a lot, of other students, or you don't get called over. For me, you don't get called over to people's house like, hey, let's get together and study, at a consistent basis. So, being in that environment, I know was college challenging for you in that sense, or did you find
No.
your place?
So, the high school that I went to, Miami Central, they had a technology department. So they taught computer science. Not say computer science. They taught programming.
Mm-hmm.
They taught animation, computer animation. They taught
Yeah.
Cisco networking, and then they had one more. So in my 4 years in high school, I did at least those three. So I have a good understanding of networking, a decent understanding of animation, and program.
Yeah. Was that easy for you?
I
And
wouldn't say
not like easy, like I'm not trying to say like was it like easy, like
no.
oh it was cake.
I mean, it's just like learning the language, like learning
Mhm.
Spanish. Like when you get in for the first time, they give you the easy words or they give you the busy work.
Yeah.
But in order to become good at it, you have to practice. That means you have to go home, do a little bit extra,
Mm.
or read a little bit extra. Find somebody else who can speak the language. Bounce some stuff off of them and get some, sound advice.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know we've had a couple of conversations in the past few weeks, just about the whole software coding, and you sat me on the phone and you kind of like coached me through it, and gave me some hope. Like there's still hope, Alan. Like you can still learn it. You just have to sit down like you would any other language and learn it. Like that's what you said, and I think that's a powerful thing because a lot of people tap out of the race because they, disqualify themselves and say, "Oh, I'm not qualified for this
I agree.
because I can't get it." So, what is your advice to that college student who is struggling, with his major, and he, how it is as a college student, so you know what he could be doing and what he could not be doing. So, what is some advice for some college students out there?
Well, the first thing, it's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah.
If the goal is to go in here and take an easy major, it's not supposed to be easy. I mean, just, when I was in school, I remember having students I was working with, they want to take the classes, but they don't want to do the programming, or they don't want to take the time to program, or
Yeah.
time to learn. Like, can you help me? And it's like, in order for you to achieve success, sometimes you got to dig in the trenches and like just go to work, just being there by yourself. And, I know what it's like to be a college student. You got a programming assignment, you got 2 weeks to do it, plus you got 5 other classes.
Right.
And to be honest with you, you just got to, buckle down and just do the work. Like there's no easy way around it. And if you cheat or, whatever you do, I mean, it's going to catch up to you eventually because people are going to know, like, why don't you know this?
Yeah.
You should know this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's the truth, man. And like, it's so easy. It's so easy as a college student to go online and be like, oh, what is this? Or like, just to supplement for like, oh, let me do this homework really quick. Bam, here it is. Or, like not even put in the work. So as a minority African-American male, in engineering, I realized that there's a way I should have went about college in the beginning. Like it was almost like I went in like, oh, it's free. Like, go ahead and let me just go through these classes so I can get my money from the VA, and bam, that's that. I wasn't thinking like, oh, well, let me make sure I go home and study, and actually, do programming. Like you told me, you were like, it's good to create your own so that you can become better at doing it instead of doing some prototype that someone else did. So is that what you did to get better? Is like you started doing your own?
So like you mean like building my own stuff. So yes,
Yeah.
like when I first started in the industry, because I ran professional track for a number of years after college.
Okay.
So when I got into the software industry, they'll give you a job entry level, but at a certain point, like you have to decide your own path. You have to figure out which way you want to go.
Yeah.
So as I was like paying attention to all the developers around me, I was like, I want to write code, but I was in a tester position at the time. So basically, like in order to move up, like I had to go home, sit in front of my computer, program for hours on end, so that I can build my skill set. And the best way I was able to do that was to just find a project or something that I wanted to build. And then I spent hours and hours just building that one thing until I got a completed product and I was able to like put it in the public's hand.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot of discipline.
Fair enough. I take that.
I mean, you have to have a lot of discipline because I look at, and I'm just putting myself on a burner today. It's all good. Because, I mean, me and you, we had this discussion, so I'm going to keep it 100 with everybody else because, like the struggling with programming, with our school at UNC, well, I don't know if I should. Well, you all know what school I go to. I go to the school here in Charlotte. So at my school, I feel that they didn't do a great job with introducing new students or veterans and not non-traditional students to like programming or engineering in general. We kind of just went in there. I was like, oh, engineering, electrical engineering, technology. I'm an electrician in the Marine Corps. This is easy. Nothing to do with each other. I'm like, nothing I did in the Marine Corps is applying to college right now. So, talking to you has really helped me because it's like, when I want to be like, man, this ain't for me. It's like, no, maybe I need to switch up what I'm doing and actually apply myself. And that's the big part that I'm taking away from it is like applying myself. If you want to learn Spanish, I learned Japanese like when I was in Japan, and it was like, I want to learn Japanese. I don't want to be here trying to speak English to people. And they're like, oh, no English, right? No English, So I was like, man, I need to learn this. So I was listening to some tapes. I was reading books, so I was doing everything I could. Man, you just helped me out, Kev. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome. I got you.
Changed my life. You just changed my life. I'm over here looking at everything I have going on in life right now. And if I use that same principle in everything, like, okay, learn if you're doing it, like become the best at it pretty much, right?
Yes. So, I mean, it's just
You're
like
best.
whether it's sports, whether it's academics, like whatever the case may be, like you can't expect to be the best if you just go home and sit on the couch. And most athletes can relate to this because it's said probably by every coach in America, which is like, when you're home sleeping, like the other athlete is working out, like
facts.
And, when it's raining, like they're working out. When it's snowing, they're working out. And all you want to do is sit on the couch and eat a potato chip. Like it's going to show up on the track or on the football field. You got one athlete who's lifting 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And you just show up for practice. You show up late. You leave early. You can't expect to win. And, that goes into every aspect of life. You got to do a little bit extra.
Yeah. I like this. I like this part right here, bro. I like this right here because it's like the results will show on the field. Like if you've been slacking, maybe back in high school playing football or something, like you've been out partying, you've been slacking, you haven't been practicing, you ain't been in the weight room, you haven't been running, or even in the military. Like your PT test is going to show, the results are going to show that you haven't been putting in work. So is that some type of self-evaluation that we can do while we're pursuing our purpose in IT or in software development or in anything that we're doing, is to test ourselves and say, or not even test ourselves, but to evaluate and say like, pass, fail, because you're not putting in work.
The self-evaluation is every morning you get up, right? So, so you say you have a purpose. You say you're headed somewhere. You say you want to do something, but every day you get up, you're not doing nothing to head in that direction. Like you can't, not to say you can't have a purpose, but whatever you think your purpose is, it's not that. Like when you have a purpose, you're, putting forth the time, the effort, your resources in order to make that thing come about, even if it's just a little bit a day, even if it's just 5 minutes a day or whatever the case may be. And then those little pieces add up over time. And then, a year, 2 years, 3 years, or in your case, 4 years later after you graduate, you're like, man, like I really did that. Like it took me a long time. But I had to get up out of bed, go to class. I had to come home and study. I had to, and it just all falls into place.
Yeah. Sometimes I get stuck into the, I should have had done this, that way. Each semester, you ever did that? Like every semester you go into, you're like, man, this semester I'm starting off the jump with my syllabus and I'm making sure I do all my homework, or, like I'm getting ahead of the game, but you go in and do the opposite. Well, that's what I did, that's what I did. I didn't say not everybody has my experience, but so what did you do differently then? Like how, let's show both sides.
I mean, everybody has to stay in their lane, right? So like, if you're trying to be a good student, like, of course, like you're trying to get your syllabus, you're trying to like read the book early, that kind of thing. But, once you get 5 weeks in and you have 5 classes and you got to juggle all these classes. And, you know, engineering isn't just, you know, going to the computer science classes. You know, you got the calculus, you got the physics, you got the chemistry. And then if you're juggling all those at the same time, you know, is it going to catch up to you or isn't? And then let's say if you're a student athlete, you have all these classes and then you have to go to practice, which is taken away, could be 4 hours of your day, you know, 6 o'clock in the morning and then 3 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Facts. It is what it is. You got to put in that grind. So I like that's the champion mindset. And you have the champion mindset too. So I interviewed Brian Blanton and he had the champion mindset. He's a champion. And you have that same champion mindset. Like, look, I'm going to put in the work and get it done. I don't know what you call my mindset. I don't know. Like, I've been all over the place my whole life. I've been the like, oh, I don't want to do anything with my life person. I've been the like, oh, I'm gonna just be a bum person. You know, I feel like since I've been trashed my whole life, I'm just playing. Since I've been going from like I've had nothing to I have what I need. You know, I've been every kind of person. Like I've been that student that studied, and then I was that student that did not study, and I was studying that the last minute before. I'm over here trying to type this paper the last minute. So I just wish that on my pursuit to being an engineering student or engineering that like I would have taken it more seriously in the beginning, because you could just be better. If you take things seriously, it's just about being better. Like I just want to be better in everything that I do. I
think the key takeaway is that no matter where you start, you can make a decision to make a change and to move in whatever direction you want to go. Like you could have still been a bum.
Right.
You decided like, nah, I don't want to be a bum no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's facts though. And I mean, I guess I should count my blessings and look back, you know, to where I've been and where I'm at now. You know, thank you, Kevin. See, look, Kevin over here. He over here. Look, I'm over here getting my session in, y'all. Get my little therapy session in with Kev. Hey, so Kevin, like you go from like running track to software development. How did that transition happen? Like how, and you're coaching track right now too. So
I'm still competing.
You're still competing too. So so how are you doing this? How did the transition happen at first? Like how were you like, I'm doing software development?
So my undergrad degree was in computer science. So after I finished with Nike, I was like, okay, now I got to get a real job, which is what most athletes have to do after your career is up. Like you need to figure it out. So, I mean, I just went to what I had, just submitted my resume, gave it to them as is. Of course, I had no experience, but I had a degree. I had something that I could show that I had qualifications.
Yeah.
So I just, sent it to everybody. I could put it in their hands. And I finally got a job up in Portland. I was living in Eugene, Oregon. So I got a job in Portland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I probably worked there for a year and a half. But, it was much of the same. Like I was working just like, college student will go to school. And then after work, I would have my workouts. And now I would do my weight room and I would write code. I mean, you make time for the things that you want, right? So if you want it, you do it. If not, you just sit and watch TV.
Oh man, that's good. Come on, man. You stepping on my feet today. This COVID-19 got a brother wanting to like just chill for a second. I just and then the chill just ends up being like, I'm binge watching another show. And I've just had this great conversation with Kevin, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to learn coding today, and I'm just going to go back to the basics, and I want to start all over. And I'm like, another show, another episode, and then the whole time just passes by. So like, how do you avoid doing stuff like that?
Who said I don't binge? I just binge with my laptop in my lap.
So you code. So how do we do this then? How do we stay productive while still like having our leisure time?
So first you should always take your leisure time. Leisure time doesn't have to be 4 or 5, 6 hours, but you should always take time. I mean, I learned this in college. Like you're trying to study, and then you can quickly burn out. If you're not taking at least 5, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, watch a show you like or something. But for me, like, I mean, on Saturdays, like I used to just sit with my laptop in my lap and just write code. I mean, I still got the TV on. I'm still Netflix, and I'm still doing whatever the case may be. Yeah. But let's say if I'm working on an app, like in my head, like I'm just, typing, doing my thing, and I'm listening in the background to the Netflix, and something might catch my attention. I might look up, be like, oh shoot, that happened. Yeah. Then after it I go back to writing code.
Yeah, I need to get that discipline in my life again. I've lost all discipline. I need to go back to boot camp. That's probably what it is. I'm going back to boot camp, everybody. I'm listening back tomorrow. I'm just joking. But yeah, so like if I mean, like I get like being able to do that. Maybe, and it's just learning styles too. Cause like me, I like being in a busy environment. I could do that, you know. But when it comes to approaching coding, you know, in general, or approaching engineering is scary in itself. So programming, you're saying like you always say like you could take a concept that you can see or something that you could create, and that's how you make your apps. Where do we go? Where do we start to learn things? Like, okay, we go to YouTube. Like, how does one become better at learning? Like, what is that process like when you're doing it outside of college? Let's say this person isn't even in college right now. They're just hanging out, thinking about transitioning from their job and are wanting to do software development. Don't have the money for college right now, but they want to learn coding. What would you advise them to do?
So a lot of the fundamental building blocks are free, meaning you can go to YouTube, you can watch a guy do whatever you want to do, build a website, whatever. The most important thing to understand is it comes with time. You know, a lot of people think like, oh, I'm gonna build an app, and then they go sit down, open up a website, and then they start looking. And then just for them to understand, it might take them the rest of the day, just from a point blank, because once again, it's a new language. Like if we all opened up a Spanish book, like you're just not going to open it up and read it. Like you're going to have to look at a word, go find a dictionary, figure out what it means, you know, and that's kind of the process.
Yeah.
So yeah, YouTube, you can buy books. And the first step is just to build your vocabulary. So like just learn what's available in your tool set. It's kind of like being a construction worker. Like, you can't go build a house unless you know what tools you have. If you just show up and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do some work, and you don't have a hammer and nails, like you can't get no work done. So figure out what your tools are, and once you learn what tools you have and how to use them, then you can start the building process.
I got to give you some snaps right there because that just it just flows into every aspect of our life as well. Like you just you think you're doing good, you know, when you're using, like you're trying to use a hammer to screw something in, is not going to work, you know. Like that's when that's supposed to be a Phillips head, you're over here bam bam bam, next thing you know you got a whole hole in the wall. You know, and we do that in business, we do that in school. We don't bring the right tools, you know, with us, and that's usually the thing that hinders us from our growth. Actually, probably is like the tools that we bring when we show up to build something. You know, when we show up to build a business, like let's say we were building a website, like, you know, what I did, I wanted to build a website. I didn't want to pay anybody yet. And I was just like, I just want to put something up. So I went on GoDaddy and I just started messing around with everything. I was just moving stuff around, trying stuff here, trying stuff there. I'll Google something there, you know, so like I wanted to learn, you know, but if I was using another principle to build this website, like, oh, well, let me just listen to hours and hours and hours of a podcast about creating a website and I never do it, then I'm being insufficient with my tools. Like I should go ahead and use the tools that I have that apply to what I'm doing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, with that being said, like, you know, we all watch YouTube to learn things. And, you know, typically when you're YouTubing, you're not actually like doing very much. Like they do a little bit, you do a little bit. They do a little bit, you do a little bit. So that is programming in a nutshell. Like, in order to learn, like you need to have somebody walking you step by step through the processes until you're capable of doing it yourself.
Yeah. And that's the kind of learning I need, because I'm the kind of person that's like, oh, you know, can you break that down a little bit more for me so I can really get it? Like I want to know why I'm doing this. And that's why I struggle. You know, I've been struggling with school too recently, was because they, you know, theory is cool. I like theory. Theory is all good in it, but I need practical. I need to see how this thing is going to work. Like if we're coding, and this is where we messed up at in school, I think, or this is how the school system messed up, because if I'm coding, like I want to see how this is all playing out and how it's doing what it's doing, you know, and they wait till like the end to do all of that after you take your programming class. And granted, I know you said this before, which put me in check, was like, well, Alan, like pretty much, you know, school is they're just introducing you to to the topic or to the idea or the concept, and then your job is you're supposed to go home and, you know, pretty much become master it. And that's the other thing. Like, a lot of times people don't know how to approach college, because I would say it was just ignorance for me, because, you know, school wasn't necessarily like, oh, you know, you go to school and after school, this is the time that you're going to become an expert at what you're learning. That was never like, and still it was just like, yo, get your homework done. You get your homework done, you're good. You know, so.
And I mean, it's the same principles when you're in elementary school, right? Come home and do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
At some point along that process, you stop getting homework, so you get out of the habit of doing homework, right? And so, I mean, I went through the same process. Went through high school, no homework, but guess what, man? I got to college and I had chemistry and calculus at the same time. Like,
Jesus,
I'm gonna go home and look at this book today, because if I don't look at this book, it's not gonna be too good at the end of the semester. So, like, I mean, that's kind of what got me into the practice, because if I didn't look at the book, like, it just wasn't gonna happen.
So I wonder if it's I'm over here. I don't know why I'm treating you like my psychologist today, but I just wanted to be transparent with my followers as well. So we're going to talk, you know, we're going through the journey, but so, and this is where I'm going to get my questions for Kevin is so, like, what about when you're pursuing your purpose and you're self-destructive, like you destroy things along the way? Have you ever encountered that? And like, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm sure we all do it at some point, right? So let's say, for example, like, I build an app and all of a sudden I think like I'm the man, I can just do whatever I want. And then, you know, self-destruction could be I stop practicing coding. So when it's time for me to get that next job, like, I'm not as fresh as I should be. So now the interviewer is like, man, you don't know your stuff. It's not that I don't know it, I just haven't been practicing. You know what I mean? Or you just staying up real late, and then when it's time to go to work or whatever, now you're falling asleep. Like, I mean, we all do it in different aspects of life. You know, how do we recognize that we're doing it? And you know, a lot of times when you're self-destructing, you don't even know that it's happening. You just kind of wake up one day and you're like, man, like, they sent me home, or whatever the case may be.
Right. Yeah. Like, And I think I had it bad because I was very self-destructive, and it was probably mainly because I was going through like PTSD and stuff. But it's still, like, you know, when you're building something, when you're building an app, when you're building your career and you're chasing something, and, you know, maybe something scares you, maybe you face some type of dilemma that you don't see yourself getting through, you know, and you just completely give up. Like you said, that's being like self-destructive. Has there ever been a time in your journey, like developing apps, and like, has there ever been a time, even with racing and running, like, is it when you felt like just giving up? Like, how did you get through those times right there?
I mean, I think as an athlete, we probably have been there. Whether I'll just use this as an example because everybody can relate. Like, you have a hard workout, man, I'm done. I'm not doing nothing. I'm going home early, coach. I mean, that's the easiest example, because I mean, that's, everybody can relate to that. Like, you're doing the best that you can, and your best isn't good enough. So you want to give up. And so in those instances, you know, the best thing to do is to have somebody. In athletics, it would be a coach, but in real life, it would be a mentor or a brother or somebody who's like, nah, man, just give it one more day. And I think you give up when you don't have anybody else in your corner who's like standing by you saying, all right, man, if you go one more day, we're going to talk again tomorrow. We're going to make sure it's good. And I think, you know, in any area where I felt like I wanted to give up, or, you know, just didn't want to go on, it was just like, you know, I call up a few people, you know, talk to them. And, you know, sometimes all you just need is that conversation, and then it gets better.
Yeah. That's real. And I'm glad you said that. I love how this conversation is flowing, because, you know, you mentioned like having those people in your circle, and or even that person, that coach, that mentor, you know, that accountability partner that's going to keep you on track. Like, for training, as an athlete in general, you know, like, you could be an athlete, you can love what you do, but there comes a point in time in your training when you just don't feel like running no more, and you don't have another lap in you, you don't have another push up in you, you don't have another sit up in you. But when you have that person in your face and like you you
That's
know,
right.
and they're like, hey, give me one more lap, give me one more, give me one more. That give me one more person. Come on now. That give me one more
Give me one
person.
more, right?
We all need that. Give me one more person. You know, so that's powerful, Kevin, because you can apply everything that you're going through with track and with software development and just use it in life in general. Like, give me one more. Like, okay, you failed in that app, creating that app. You know, give me one more. Like, do one more. Try to one up yourself every time. You'll win eventually, right?
Yeah. I mean, like with all things, I mean, you got to press in. Like, you're not meant to win all the time, right? Ooh. So
Come
we
on
talk
now.
about athletics, right? We all want to be the whatever champion, right? But you don't win every game. I mean, and even if you do, you're not gonna win every game next year or the year after. Like, it's gonna be some L's along the way. But
Yeah.
they aren't a bad thing.
Facts. They're not a bad thing because it's a learning opportunity. Like, so with running, with racing, it's all about form, technique. It's not just about speed, right? You still need that form and technique when you come out the blocks. It's
I
not
mean,
just about being fast.
it's
I
more than
mean,
that, form, technique, relaxation, mental preparedness. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, we're gonna race,
mhm.
but if you getting in the blocks and you like, man, I didn't have a good week of practice this week, or whatever's in your head that's not like, I'm gonna blast these fools today. Like, you're
Right.
not gonna perform very well. Whereas like
Mhm.
your competitor, your champion, whoever your champion is, when he's stepping up to the line, I can bet you he's thinking, I don't care who is on the football field today, I don't care who's on the track, like, y'all gonna get it, and I'm gonna send you home crying.
Mm-hmm. That's and that's that champion mindset right there.
That's that champion mindset. There's no other. You can't get on the track or the football field and be afraid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have to show up, and if you don't show up, I mean, you're just gonna get sent home.
Right. And you're gonna get so home with a L.
The L, right?
And then the L is just going to overtake you because like we're not, like you said, we're not always destined to win every time. Every business that we create is not destined to make $1 million. Like, there's so many things that I've created or done, and it's just like, oh well, okay, that happened. And like some things are meant to just be left. Like, okay, maybe that was a great idea for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then some things you can bring back. Like, so with apps and like apps are always changing. Like, there's always something, new trends happening. People are liking new things. People are now into stocks and stuff like that. So you have a stock app, right?
I do. Well, yeah. So I have an app called Futures Calculator. And
Mm-hmm.
so basically, like most of us, we're trying to figure it out, trying to learn how to trade or whatever. So just in the midst of like me messing around, trying to figure out some stuff and like needing to calculate, like, if I were to take a trade, like, how much am I going to make? How much am I going to lose?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I couldn't really find anywhere where I could like really calculate it. So like I said, like, it was a problem. There's a need. So I was like, let me just sit down and write it up. So I built it and I published it out to the store, up on Google Store. And then like I just put it in the public's hands. And then I found out that other people have the same problem. Like, they'll email me and they'll be like, hey man, like, can you add this feature? Or I'm glad that you did this, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Wow. So if y'all are interested in checking out that app, it is called Futures. It's Futures Calculator on your Apple Store and
Store.
Google Store as well. So make sure y'all check that out. That's just dope in general. Like, so when you had the idea that you wanted and you had the tools you needed, so creating it, did you have to call on other people to help you build it, or were you just like, oh, I know what I want, and let me find this code to do this thing? Like, how the coding process in itself is very like
no copy paste. No copy.
No copy paste. So you had to write up everything.
I had to write it. So
wow.
like basically, so there was a problem, right? I mean, that's how most apps are built. Like, there's a problem. And I was like, well, let me go find a solution for it. So the first thing is like, I have to think through it in my head. Like, what am I trying to build? So like, I'm trying to figure out how to determine whether or not how much money I'm gonna make if I take a trade. So like, that's my problem. And then from there, I just started thinking through like what information I need. I need all the markets that are available. I need to know like how those markets move, like what numbers to implement and how to calculate it. And then so basically, once I have all the data, I jumble it up real quick, stir it in the pot, and then I spit out your answer. So that's kind of like the process.
Yeah.
As far as the coding piece, it's like, once again, like I have the tools, so I don't have to go figure out what the tools are. Like I can just sit down and I can write just off the top of my head. Like I know I need this. I know I need this.
Mm-hmm.
And then in times where I may get stuck or may need to figure it out, I may go and read and research to try to understand, like, okay, I'm facing this dilemma. Like, how do I overcome it? But once I overcome it, like I'm back in my toolbox again.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, I just added something new to my toolbox.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main thing that I love about living life, is that as you create, as you continue to learn, like this podcast, I did not know anything about podcasting, about the microphone and the webcam, like a while back, and COVID-19 happened, and it was just so happened like the perfect timing for me to do this. But I had to learn it on my own, you know, and I had to teach myself everything that I do, like just with the shirts and everything, is just learning on my own. So for you, you know, you go from running, you know, and coaching to developing apps. So where do you want to take your business? Do you want to create more apps? Do you want to open a school? Like where do you see your future, you know, inside of developing?
I mean, in the short term, I'll probably just keep creating more apps. Like,
Yeah.
you can't. So you see this whiteboard?
Yeah.
At the end of this whiteboard is a list of apps. So literally, like I have a pipeline of stuff that I haven't started yet, but whenever I get around to it, I'll work on them one by one.
Yeah.
So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got stuff right now. I got a board as well, but you know, I don't have apps on there. Actually, this is crazy. So actually, I had an app that I wanted to do. I'm not going to say what it was because I'm going to talk to you about it offline. But so I had an app idea, and I scared myself from doing the app because I was like, well, I'm not smart enough to do this stuff. So, you know, I need to hire somebody to do it or whatnot. But I really do want to learn how to do this stuff. I want to learn how to do it. I want to do everything. I want to be a jack of all trades. I don't care. Mm-hmm. When I die, I want people to say, this man did everything.
You know, there's nothing wrong with learning a skill. At least you have understanding. And so if you do pay somebody and let's say they charge you some money, you be like, no, that don't sound right. You know, if I have a conversation with a developer and I want to pay him to write my stuff,
mm-hmm.
I can be like, no, I'm not paying you, you know, whatever your cost is, because I know it's only going to take you 2 days or 3 days. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You know what it takes. Come on, we talking about having a tool. You got to have a toolbox. So inside of your toolbox is valuable, because even if you're not using the tool, but somebody comes with that same kind of tool and says, well, it costs this much to do this, you know what that tool is worth. You know what that tool is capable of doing and how long it'll take to get the job done. So we're over here talking in parables and all that stuff, but
everybody got it.
Yeah, everybody got it, man. So that's awesome. And do you ever plan on like hiring staff or doing any teaching people how to do this? Like, what do you see yourself doing with the give back part? Do you feel like you want to give back to society by teaching kids, at-risk youth? I'm over here giving you a mission and everything.
I know, right? We'll see what the give back part looks like. I mean, I've done some tutoring before. The biggest thing with tutoring is you got to have equipment. So if I'm going to tutor, like, I would have to find a place that either has equipment or I have to supply the equipment, because whether I'm dealing with adults or children, if they don't have a laptop or if they don't have a computer or something, then only thing I can do is really talk. I mean, I might as well do YouTubes, but
True.
That, not to say that's ineffective. If I want to reach like a 15, 16-year-old, like I'm gonna have to go physically sit with them and walk through the process and like help them and coach them or whatever.
Mm-hmm. So you would be able to do something like that?
I could. Okay. I've considered it before, but once again, like, where am I gonna go? That's gonna have, you know, I mean, I could go to a university, but
don't worry about that. I will provide the place.
There you go.
I'm asking you because I'm already looking in the future for what we're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, look, everybody heard that. Everybody heard what Kevin said, and I'm gonna bring something up so that he can do it. But yeah, Kev. So like, and in your process throughout this whole year right now, do you have like events that you do for your apps, or do you just kind of like just put them out and hopefully people check them out? Like, what ways are you marketing your apps?
So for the most part right now, I just put them in the store and then I do my Instagram. I've been having issues with Instagram marketing, as in like I try to pay, click promote, and then it doesn't go. So I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
But eventually I'm going to probably build out a Facebook page and then try to do it through Facebook, since they both are connected.
Yeah. Dopeness. I wanted to run to our questions real quick because we're at 40-minute mark. Man, time is flying.
Fine,
Wow.
right?
Time is flying. And Deshae, I know Deshae's on here. Deshae, you and Kevin, I know both of y'all run. I'm trying to see something. I want to see something here.
Easy money.
Brooke Smith, what do you think about your husband? And he said easy money. So I wanted to go here. I know Pastor Speller had said something earlier. He said, I've been programming for over 25 years. In all my years, I never had an opportunity to work with a black man as I am. Wow. What are your thoughts to why? Ooh, good question.
No, that's an easy one, right?
Yeah.
So some of it is not being exposed to it, right? So I'll just give my story. So like in middle school, like we all play video games. And then like how you get the little video game magazine that come in? Back in the day it was called Game Pro, now it's called I don't know what, because I don't look at the magazines no more, but they still come out. Yeah. And so like, in that magazine it talked about like developers and designers and that kind of thing. And I was like, oh man, it'd be cool like if I can do this. So from there, like that's when I started looking into like the high schools in my area that provided that product. So that's how I got into programming to begin with, because we all play games. Like it's just kind of like a natural progression.
Right.
But for that same student who maybe didn't look at that magazine or didn't, skip past that part, because when you're in a video game magazine, it's a bunch of pictures. So you might have missed the part that talked about developing. Yeah. So now we get to high school. Like I said, I went to this high school. We had all this technology and stuff, but in all the classes, even at a, majority black school, right? High school, the majority of my classes were multicultural. So, even if the tools are there, like, do the students actually know that these things are available and are they taking advantage of it? So then you get to college and it's like the same thing. Like you have this university with all these people, and everybody wants to do their own thing, and some of these people actually can be good at coding, but maybe something else has their attention at the moment. And then let's say if you miss that window, now you've graduated, chances are you're not going to come back. So from K to 12 you wasn't exposed, and then you missed this short window, and now you're hearing about some guy who does coding, or I want to learn how to code. But as an adult now, you have other responsibilities. You're not gonna circle back.
It's real. So that's why there's been like a lack, because it's being introduced at a young age. That's all around on a lot of professional platforms. Or when you look at professions, I didn't know about a whole lot of things that were out there, that wasn't within my family's reach, where people were doing already. I didn't know those things existed really, so it was just like, when you're not educated on the opportunities that are out there, that's why you may not find a lot of African Americans in engineering, because I try to talk to like my nephews and stuff. I'm like, hey, what do you want to do? Engineer. I try to throw it in there because a lot of kids don't think they can do it because they think it's like too difficult and they're not smart enough.
Yeah, so a lot of it is like, what do you believe in yourself? So if I introduce engineering to a student, or I say, man, do you want to code? Like I throw that around sometimes, like you should learn how to code, not really telling them like what I do and how I do it, just to pique the interest. A lot of times, like if the interest is there, it's not very strong. And once again, like if you haven't been, let me say it differently. Not that we haven't been exposed to it, because we have our smartphones, right? You play with an app, right. But how do I get that 15, 16, 17-year-old to be like, hey man, why don't you make your own app? And then once I sit them down in front of the computer, like how do I get them to stay? And I think that's the biggest thing. Like once again, like you have to sit still for a large block of time. Right. So if the student won't sit still, right, to focus for this amount of time, then they're going to tap out. They're going to go do something else. So that's the other thing. Like, can I get you to sit still for 5 hours straight, 8 hours in code?
Man, I don't even know if I can. Like,
well, at least 3 hours.
Yeah, a couple of hours or something. Chemistry and calculus at the same time. Deshay said chemistry and calculus at the same time. Yeah,
Man,
that's just like I did physics and calculus. That's
was
how
just
I
the first
actually,
semester.
bro. Look, I started at UNC Charlotte. In the first class I had to take after like what I went to ODU in 2011 till 13. So maybe even 3 years between. There's a gap, 3-year gap. I go back to college, and the first classes I have is physics and calculus, and I calculus based physics and so yeah, definitely not
Like
a
I said,
great experience.
that's just the first semester. That's not when you get to Cal 2 and then Cal 3.
Right.
You got to be on top of that.
Yeah. All right. So we have a question. It says, what's your view of the next best technology to learn? Great question.
For our youth, I would recommend mobile. Basically any programming language is fine, but mobile seems to be the way that things are going in general. Like everything's getting smaller. So if we can get our youth to, learn the mobile tech, not only should they learn it, but they should try to build their own apps. Everybody's using the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, the whatever. And it's like, man, why don't you sit down? Why don't you and your homeboys or homegirls sit down and y'all do something fun for your age group that you can get a large following on? And then now, instead of you having to use somebody else's, app, you can build your own app. You can build your own TikTok and be like, don't use their TikTok, use our TikTok.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it. Talk tick.
Talk tick. Tickety top. I like that response. And I think a lot of us have to do that, even with like when it comes to like stocks. It's like, oh, you're spending money at this place, but maybe you should look at it from the other perspective and like buy a part of that company and stuff. So, but yeah, Kevin, we're 47 minutes, man, Kevin, and I really do appreciate your time, brother. I appreciate everything that you're doing, and I'm excited to see what apps you're coming up with, and I'm ready to get coached by Kev. That's what we're gonna call your program. I'm already creating a program for Kevin, coached by Kev. And I'm not trying to do a track. I don't want to run no more. My ankle's bad, but I do want to learn IT and software development and programming. So, we're going to have to do that. So if anybody wants to reach out, can they do that? Can they say, hey, Kevin, like I'm interested in maybe taking one of your classes. If you ever start doing classes, would you be open to that?
I'd be open to it. They just have to send me a message, and then, we can communicate and kind of go from there.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I have a closing question for you. Okay, so Rick said him too. So Rick is gonna get on there too. So we all getting in there. We're gonna be in Coach Kev's class. He's gonna have us out there running track and programming, playing around 400 meters before your first program. All right. But nah, he's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But Kev, so like what do you want to see happen with this generation, when it comes to purpose? What do you want to see this generation do with purpose? There's a lot of like things happening in society, people dying, things happening. Like, what do you want to see in this world in your time right now?
Probably the biggest thing is just to own your own space, right? So we talked about earlier, like trying to introduce the student to engineering or whatever the case may be, but their response is like, I can't do it. And the reason why they can't do it is because they're not owning their own space. Like if you own yours, then you can step up to the plate, use a baseball reference, and hit the ball. But if you keep saying, well, I can't do it, then you will never do it. Like you won't even give yourself a chance to try. Yeah. So you're always going to be in the position that you're in, looking at somebody else who has started their own podcast or built the app, saying, whatever you want to say about them. But the issue really isn't in the person that has taken the step. The issue is really looking inside of yourself and saying, what can I do to make the steps to move forward?
Yeah. I love that. I love that analogy too. The baseball reference is dope, because if you're in the dugout and you keep talking yourself down, like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not going to be able to hit that ball, this dude is the best pitcher out there, there's other baseball players out there that are swinging just like me, and I'm going to suck and I'm going to miss, we keep doing that to ourselves and we never talk ourselves to the plate. So, man, Kevin, I'm gonna have to watch this whole thing over again, because we've been saying some good stuff,
but
you got to talk yourself to the plate.
it goes back to the championship mindset, right? So when we think of championship mindset, like normally we look at an athlete and be like, oh man, that dude, like they say Jordan, like Jordan was the best. Yeah. But when the other athletes talk about Jordan, they talk about his mentality is like, man, I don't care who was on the floor. I'm gonna body slam all y'all and I'm gonna dunk on you. Right. So it's like we have to take that mentality into other things. So if you're gonna go into business, you got to go into business saying, I'm taking everybody out. Like I'm finna go compete with you name it. If you cooking chicken, KFC. If you doing
KFC, right across the street from you.
Right. And you got to have that mindset. Like, what's the point of getting into the race if you're not gonna compete? Like, if you just get the 8th place, you know what I mean? So.
No, that's a fact, and I'm about to have that attitude going down the rest of this month and next month and the rest of this year and the rest of my life, because it's like if you're intentional, like in that mindset, like I'm good with the like, oh, I'm never going to stop, I'm never going to quit, I'm going to repeat that process, but you still have to have a different attitude, you know. And I was talking to Amber yesterday, I think, or Mario, but I was talking about purpose with the attitude, or I was talking to Fode. I was like, purpose with the attitude, like that's what I'm thinking about. You know, when I'm living my purpose, like I want to have an attitude to the point where I'm like, yo, I want to be the best and I'm going to be the best. And there's nothing wrong with people feeling like that. And I know we were about to close, but there's nothing wrong with people feeling like I'm the best. Like if you want to be the best 800-meter runner out there, like go ahead and be the best. There's nothing wrong with that. I think when people are when people are insecure about who they are, they get threatened by people who walk in that mentality. You know, and if I say, Kevin, like I have the best podcast out there, I don't care what nobody say, hands down. And Jim Carrey talked about this. It was like, if you tell me, Alan, no, your podcast suck, is not the best, you're probably like, if there was out of 1,000 podcasts, you're probably the bottom 1,000. If I let that one thing dictate or project me or push me down, then I wasn't really about this podcast. I wasn't really about my journey, you know. So. And that's what I had to understand with school too, is that, you know, I talked myself out of school. I was like, I'm stupid. I got PTSD, traumatic brain injury, memory loss. Like I'm going to suffer and fail. I'm never going to get through this. I'm on academic probation. Like I'm going to drop out of school again. Like I was doing all of that in my mind. But then when I started getting in my spirit, like, oh, I can do this. Like I can do this. I am just as smart as the next guy next to me. It doesn't matter when they started this. It's about like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna close a little bit.
It's about taking the first step.
It's about taking the first step. Exactly.
First step is stop telling yourself you can't do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
Exactly. You ever seen somebody get walked down? I know you've seen it, but like when in track, I love this in track, and even at, let's say it was a 400-meter race, right? That's one time around the track. People who don't know what a 400-meter race is. So 400-meter race, and you got that last stretch. The last, it's like the second to the last corner. Now the 200, where we're at the 200.
Okay.
There's that 200 bank when everybody leans. It's like everybody leans. It's so smooth. But then there's that person that's in the lead, you know. And then there's that one person who really, really wants it. Like they want it so bad that they're in like 5th place, and you see them starting to walk that first person down. But it starts with number 4, and then number 3, and then number 2, and then that person that's in that number 1 slot. So like with that mentality, that championship mentality, like we're in different industries. Like I'm doing motivational speaking, you know, and writing and stuff. So like if there's other people out there, Tony Robbins, all these other people, like they're just running their race. Like if I'm going to walk them down, I got to do my best to walk them down. And there's nothing wrong with walking down Oprah and Obama. Like there's nothing wrong with walking down these people saying like, oh, Steve Harvey, like I'm about to walk you down and I'm going to pass you. Because I know that I can, you know, so it's nothing wrong with having a championship mindset, folks. That's all I'm trying to say.
And here's the key. There's always going to be somebody that comes after you. So you could be that person that come after Oprah and take her spot because she's going to have to go somewhere soon, right? It could be you, or it could be somebody else. So you said it right. But, you know, you have to make a decision that you want to be the next in line and not let somebody else take your position.
Snaps. So I think we're gonna close with that right there, Kevin. That was beautiful right there. I like that. I like the way that ended. You did a good job, Kevin. You might need your podcast. But yeah, Kevin, man, I appreciate you, bro. You guys make sure you go check out Kevin. Hit him up, message him. I got his info right here. He's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Kevin Hicks. his kicks on Instagram right here. Just if you want to know more about him, if you want to talk to him, if you want to connect with him, please check him out. Hit him up. Kevin, thank you, brother, once again for joining the Purpose Pod. I will talk to you soon.
Good deal.
Good all right, day. Bro. All right, you too. Thank you all for joining the Purpose Pod. I'm so excited that you all stuck through with us on the Purpose Pod. It was a dope interview, man. It was great. I really enjoyed sitting with Kevin and listening to him talk about his life. And also we were just dropping some nuggets and some gems in there. Like, you guys need to go back to the beginning and hear what we were talking about, man, because the Purpose Pod is going to push you forward. The Purpose Pod is going to get you on track for your purpose. And we're showing you people who are living in their purpose. They're living with purpose. They're creating, they're producing, they're chasing after their dreams with that championship mindset, that champion mindset. So you go out there and you take what's yours, you walk that next person down, and you become the great person that you desire to be. This is the Purpose Pod. We will be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So join us tomorrow. And actually, the person I'm having on, she was my probation officer. I'm just playing, but she was my teacher when I was on academic probation. She saved me. Literally, she saved me because I was on my way out of college. But yeah, she's going to be on the Purpose Pod. She's doing great things. So we're going to highlight her as well at 6 o'clock p.m. So be there, or be square. That's a circle. So yes, again, go follow Kevin Hicks. Go download his app, Futures Calculator. You can get that on your Apple store or your Android store. For you Android people out there, shout out to y'all. Boo to all the iPhone people. Love you guys. Stay up. Peace.